Hi, friends. Doc South here, and boy, I got one for the folks at that website about the history of Chester. History of Chester, I believe it's .com, right? Chester, New Jersey. You know, there's Chesters in almost every state. I think there is, darn near anyway. Yeah, I think Chester is an old Roman word for camp. Yeah, we Chester here tonight. Yes, by order of the emperor. That's what that's what I hear. But the but well, I've lived in Chester. I lived in Chester. Moved to the town with my family, with my parents. Oh gosh, back in 1956. Okay, and my parents, gosh, they lived there till they moved to a retirement village in down near Lakehurst, Tom's River area. Tom's River area, and they had more than their share of fun in the town. And me too. They lived up near Serby's gas station. There's a house up there, building that looks kind of like an old pagoda, from the street. Yeah, sort of. And that's where we grew. My brother Ed and I grew up. And then when I got married to my first wife, we lived down in the old factory building in on Main Street, had an antique shop. And we had friends all over town, of course, but especially on Warren Street. Now, Warren Street's the street that used to go off of Main Street, right past the building our antique shop was in, the old factory building. And Warren Street, we had a number of people there that were good friends, and two of the best friends ever were Tom and Mary Lou, who lived a house or two down behind us. Had a bunch of kids, and they were wonderful people. I think both Tom and Mary Lou were either involved with the fire company or the rescue squad. They fantastic folks, and Tom especially, a very hardworking individual. So was Mary Lou, and they and very civic minded, like I said earlier. And but when they get a spare moment, we might be over at their house having a beer or a coffee, or they might be up at our store talking, or up in my first wife and I's our apartment up in the kitchen there, again knocking down a beer or whatever. And we were good friends, very good friends. In fact, I think Mary Lou's the godmother of my daughter Sunshine. Yes, pretty sure. I'm certain she is. The and we and we'd get into these great bull sessions. Tom was perhaps the best storyteller I ever knew. I don't know anyone could tell a story better than him. No one, and he'd just wing it. He was so good at it. It's a shame he didn't. These videos weren't available back then, because his would be classics. And he'd have one story after another, and he had a photographic memory for jokes. Okay. So now, that said, I don't know if he was messing with me or not when he told me of this tale, but here goes. Okay. Maybe some of you Chester residents know of this and can enlighten me further. There was a tavern called the Crossroads Tavern in Chester. Pretty sure it was called the Crossroads. Now, again, this is all 50, 60 years ago, so forgive me if I got exact names wrong, but I believe it was called the Crossroads. And it was a gin mill. You go in there, have a brewski. It sat it sat on right where Main Street, Chester, makes that turn to go to Mendham, the Crossroads there. There's traffic lights there now, gas station or a convenience store. Okay. And it sat actually where there's an emergency medical care office, the doctor's office there now. But at one time there was this rather large, I think about 3-story building. I guess must have been a boarding house or a hotel. And it may have had a bit of a restaurant to it, but it definitely had a bar. And it was a friendly bar, been there forever, long before my parents moved into Chester in the mid-50s. The Crossroads had been a tavern. They may have called it the Crossroads Tavern, the Crossroads Inn, but it sat there, commanded the intersection. I don't even know if there was a traffic light there then. I doubt there was. There wasn't that much traffic. It wouldn't have been needed. But and eventually, I know one day that building burned down. I remember it would have been I think it would have been the fall of '62, in 1962 in any case. And because my family and we all ran down to watch the fire company work on the building, but there seemed to be nothing they could do. It was lost. Whether it burned to the ground or was a hulk that they eventually had to push in, demolish, I don't know, but it was gone. And I don't know, Tom and I must have been talking about that fire. I imagine he would have seen it. He might have been, in those days, he might have been there to fight it. I don't fight the fire. I don't know. I don't know. But we were yakking about the place. And for me, it was one of the first major fires I ever saw. And as a kid, boy, it was impressive. And the work the fire company did to get it out was amazing. They did their best. But I guess it was just too late for the building. But Tom, as we're talking about the fire, he says, do you know, Doc, did you know that have you ever been in it? I said, well, yeah, sometimes my Uncle Don and I used to go down there. As a kid, I'd help him get down there since he couldn't see that well. And he certainly needed help getting home after a few beers. I used to go sit with him, or my parents and I and Uncle Don would go down there and, I'd have a soda and a hamburger or something. I think they cooked them. And there. And he, sure, we used to go. He says, did you ever did you ever see a picture of he said they used to have, I think he said it was an orangutan that used to hang out at the bar. I said, wow. An orangutan? He says, yeah, they had an orangutan. He says, I don't know his name, can't remember, but he'd sit there at the bar and kibitz with the folks there drinking. And I guess they'd buy him a beer, he'd drink a beer, then he'd want more. And, by the end of the night, he's kind of looped. So's the guy that's been buying him the beer, and next thing you know, they're having an argument. Guy's having a doggone philosophical argument with an orangutan. And pretty soon, they're fighting. He said there was a lot of times that orangutan would clean house. People... And again, I say orangutan. It may have been a big chimp. I don't know if maybe it was a gorilla. Somehow or another, there was this big primate that and he wasn't human. He acted human, but okay. And and he said, I don't know the name. He says, I said, Tom, did you ever run into it? And I think Tom said he had. I think he had. He'd been there, eventually I guess they had to get rid of him, or maybe the poor thing died somehow. But do you know anything about that? The big monkey that used to hang out at the Crossroads Tavern. Again, that sounds like early Chester to me. They're very eccentric people back in those days. And I guess the thing would just come over and talk with you, maybe want some of your potato chips or whatever. Huh? Yeah. From what I understand, then, I guess except for slugging someone who got into a fight with him, he didn't really bother anyone. And I doubt he threw the first punch. But I don't know if he tended bar. That might have been it. Maybe if you wanted a beer, he'd get me. I'm sure you could teach him how to open a bottle of beer, pour it for you, right? Yeah. I don't think he was the bartender. He may have been the busboy. Yeah, but anyway, if any of you know, that would be it would be fascinating to hear. Again, Doc, say you can just post it. If this winds up on the at the History of Chester website, good. If not, well, it'll be on my. I'll stick it on my YouTube site, and you can, if you know anything about it, I'd sure like to be enlightened. Okay. I'll see you later, friends. Thank you. And, well, Chester was a pretty cool town. Get right down to it. And I guess that orangutan at the Crossroads Tavern made it even better. As near as I know, true story. Near as I know. Of course, I don't know a whole lot, but anyway, I'll see you later. Bye now.